Look at the boys go. Wah! Get in there. Oh, that's so cool. I love this. I love the lads just like, charge! Ladies and gentlemen, we had a delicious top 5 edited by Chris, one of Chris's first bigger projects, come out on Friday. And one of the great things I noticed in the comment section there was about Kael'Thas, and a lot of nostalgia influencing my decision there. How could you leave out X, Y, and Z boss, which is always going to be the case of people choosing lists of raid bosses. And also, can you relive it? Because the Burning Crusade is coming, and people would really like to know what it is about this fight that regularly, in my mind, it's always a changing list, puts it to like the #1 spot regularly for the bosses I've done in World of Warcraft. Now, a big element of it, of course, is the people I played with at the time. Unquestionably, you can't get rid of that bias. I would like to be completely objective, but of course I can't be. If I'm playing with an absolute stellar bunch of people, I'm naturally going to be having a great time anyway. I can play a terrible game with great people and have a great time, as many of you guys can as well. So that is a heavy influence in a lot of the reasoning behind how we chose a lot of bosses, and I can't help that. I will have better memories of that boss, depending on who I'm playing with. And World of Warcraft ultimately is who you play with. That is the situation. But another thing people are asking about is like, how can you like this and not why? Now, in general, that's always going to happen. Everybody has their favorites, but it's pretty clear that I really detest what I call the dance fight, and some dance fights heavily fall into people's top bosses of all time. So these would be bosses like Helya, Operator Thogar, Argus, bosses like this. And what they are for me is just learning the moves and then the boss dies. And I hate that for a number of different reasons. So if we look at Helya, for example, you're not really trying to get the team to be a team in terms of, let's say you're playing a game where you have to infiltrate a building or something like that. Everybody has their own individual set of special skills, yet you're likely to be doing different tasks on the way in to all culminate in the victory. That's what I adore. When I look at bosses like Operator Thogar, all those trains are predictable. They're preset. They will be the same every single time you pull that boss. And what you're really trying to do, at least in my eyes, is you're trying to get the entire team of 25 or 20 people to learn that routine, to learn that pattern. And then they will move as essentially one person. Now, some people really like that. Like Alex from Fat Boss adores that kind of stuff because he feels that's a good team cohesion. We're all working as one unit to get something done. I personally am the opposite side of that. I don't like that because for me, the progress there is how quickly does everybody learn this dance? And then when that happens, it's kind of hard to fail because you're just doing the same thing over and over again. Same with Helya. Helya Mythic, I am talking about the Mythic versions here, has like 4 or 5 spots that you want to stand, and you go X, Y, Z, A, X, Y, Z, A, and you kind of just go around in a circle. And people, the way you wipe there is people mess up that dance. Occasionally, some people have to break off and do other things. What I love, though, is fights like Kael'Thas, fights like the Blast Furnace, fights like Gul'dan, where there's tons and tons, and Black Hand would be in here as well. There's lots and lots of different jobs to be doing, and the fight never ever feels like a training dummy, which is a big plus for me. So if I look at Black Hand, which I almost put on the list, and you know, ask me on a Tuesday, I probably would put that on the list. Ask me on a Wednesday, something else might be there. But Black Hand I played as a rogue. So during phase 1, not only am I DPSing, which is the training dummy start, but I'm also like clearing bombs with Cloak of Shadows, and then going to go down to the second floor where I'm going to be DPSing, but then I'm going to be kiting a tank. I've got another aspect of my class that I get to utilize. Then we go down to the bottom floor where I'm going to be soaking and using Shadow Step and things like that to be knocked away from the boss, then knocked back in to maintain DPS, using yet another element of my class. Those are the fights I adore the absolute most, and there's plenty of examples of that on my top 5 list. So I want to go through Kael'Thas because as much as I try and beat out the nostalgia here, I love this fight. Let's enjoy the classic Warcraft movies intro, which is when I originally recorded this video all the way back then. And another reason I wanted to go through this is reading the comments. There are so many people who obviously never did this fight and have no clue what's going on, which is fine. I totally get it. It's very difficult to talk about old bosses because the likelihood is people have killed them, but they've done them in transmog runs. I saw one about Illidan. Oh, there's so much downtime in that fight. Not if you did it originally, no. Not really. That fight was intense as fuck, man. There are transition phases, but there's a lot happening in that. I watched a lot of Private Realm stuff, and I know the Burning Crusade is going to be crushed out of the park, but I can't help that. I can only go off what I experienced at the time. Yeah, you did have to be there to know. Sorry. It's not a cop-out, it's just the fucking truth, man. So here's my epic guild. This is going to be a little nostalgia trip for you. This was my guild. I was the guild master. In the Burning Crusade. I formed this guild coming out of Classic, original Vanilla WoW, because obviously this happened with nearly every guild. My original guild called the Berserkers was a heavy Croatian guild. It was raid-led from a team of Croatians out of a web cafe. But we were carrying like 20 to 25 really, really bad players. And so I had the inspiration, like we hear in every drama time, is fuck it, I'm going to make my own guild. And I did. And I attempted to make the best of the best. In fact, we were extremely good. We did have to fill in some blank spaces. Not everybody wanted to join. And I called it Dark Light because my first ever MMO, called Neocron, this was the first clan, as it was then, that took me in. It's not a name I came up with, but I loved this name at the time. I was an edgy motherfucker. So I recreated Dark Light in TBC, which was very hype because we got a lot of those old Neocron guys back, and they were extremely good video game players. But made me very happy. However, the Dark Light we're about to see against Prince Kael'Thas Sunstrider is very different than the Dark Light that formed at the beginning of the Burning Crusade. Out of the original people that made up this raid, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's only 9 players remaining. And that's because one of the mistakes I made with Dark Light was inviting cliques of friends who were recommended to me. As these guys are awesome, let's get them in. That made sense to me at the time. I was a young, unwise fool, and when one of them left, everybody left. Or one of them stopped playing, everybody stopped playing. By the time, and also TBC was very hard. None of us were prepared for how hard this was, and so what ended up happening is midway through, we simply had to merge with another guild. But we got some really great players, like Montania here. I can't read his name, but I remember it. Montania here was one of the best Holy Paladins I ever played with. Jakan here was actually one of the Gladiators, the original TBC Gladiators. Awesome player. Awesome player. But by the by, this was kind of a different team, but I got to know most of them pretty well. This was about the time as I was about to leave Darklight and join Kill Count Lost. It was very shortly after this that my aspirations for what I wanted out of World of Warcraft started to very much supersede everybody else in my raid team, and they kind of were like, we wish you the best, but we don't want to go, we don't want to keep going hard, because TBC was pretty relentless. But where we were in progress, it was pretty non-stop. So for me, I wanted more. I wanted to slam the Black Temple. I wanted to slam Mount Hyjal. I wanted to slam the Sunwell. And these guys were not up for that at all. But we left on such great terms. We had a party and everything. Okay, so Kael'Thas. I'm not sure if Blizzard's going to change this fight, or in fact, if any changes happened after this that may be implemented in the revamped classic Burning Crusade. But the fight is very simple in terms of its layout, but execution is really difficult. This first phase is actually the easiest phase, where we have his 4 advisors. I think it's Thaladred, Telekinesis, Sanguinar, that guy. That might be Sanguinar, actually. Okay, so I am the main tank. That does not mean I'm going to be tanking everything. So I saw a number of people really confused when I go first person during this fight. So here's Thaladred. So the whole purpose of this phase is to position the corpses of his advisors, because they're going to come back to life later. And the way Thaladred works is he just fixates people and he'll chase them, so that person has to that person just has to kite him, while ranged DPS just do their thing. Now, there's nothing for me to do here. Like, as a tank, it's more dangerous, realistically, for me to go melee Thaladred. All we're doing in phase 1, we've done a lot of progress by this point. We weren't the best guild by any means. We were okay, but we weren't the best guild. We're not a world first guild here. This was a great thing. People are confused by this. A rocket launcher. Why have I have a rocket launcher? It's an engineering trinket that had huge amounts of stamina. For a tank, it was good shit. Plus, it gave you the rocket launcher, which did a good piece of damage. Like 1,281 damage from a trinket. It's not bad at all. So it helps me contribute some damage. I want to do damage here. This is kind of my hunger to help in some way. So I'm waiting for the fixate to change so I can go in and just, do a little bit here and there. This was also the very weird time, and I'm not sure, again, how Blizzard's going to play this out with the Burning Crusade, where warriors had both Sunder Armor and Devastate. The original incarnation of Devastate was that you would sunder to 5, then you would start devastating. Fucking stupid. So we had 2 key bindings for essentially the same function for a little while. It didn't last very long. Blizzard were like, oh yeah, that's really dumb. So we're not going to do that. But this phase was real chit-chat. And this is what I loved about this guild, is there was a lot of shit-talking during play that didn't make people worse. Very hard to find that in any raid guild. So now you can see I'm actually breaking off. I'm not bothered with Thaldred. I'm going over to, I think this is Sanguinar. Now, Sanguinar is actually going to be tanked by someone else. I'm here, Lord Sanguinar, I'm actually here to be an emergency backup, because the first thing Sanguinar is going to do is fear. Warrior tanks can break fear here. It does involve a stance, and I'm really only here as backup. That's my only job here, is to do this as backup. So I don't need to be here. This is just me being extra safe, extra ready for things to go. Space here, who is a lovely guy. I met this guy we actually did a meeting in Amsterdam, and he came, and now he builds parts for Lewis Hamilton's car, F1 car. He went on to be a really good engineer. Super nice guy, loved him. So here's the fear. I'm just going to break it anyway, just in case Space didn't. Purely on the basis of, if he doesn't do that and he makes a mistake, he lags for a second, something like that, then Sanguinar's just going to kill someone. But as you can see, he's pulling against this wall. This is for later on. Now, I love this. This is where I go first person, because one, I'm not doing anything here, and tank damage in the Burning Crusade is practically non-existent. I'm still pressing some buttons, but what I absolutely adored was classic Wind Fury. I talk about Wind Fury a lot, and it's because I fucking love it. I not only loved the bonus damage it did, that's fair enough, I loved that while I was tanking, but what I loved is the effect it put into the melee group, because it looked fast and looked furious, and I really wanted to capture that while I'm in this downtime. So you can see all these whirlwinds going off as the melee are going to town, and I have to say, again, this is part of my bias towards how much I love this fight. I loved this team. This team of Cloud9, his real name is Ed, Methodical, which is actually Genji, who I've known since I was like... I've known him since the Burning Crusade, and I still talk to him today. Dark Assassin, who I have lost touch with, but he was super cool. Loshko I don't really talk to, and Booster is actually part of my family. That is my nephew. So this team, I loved my melee team. As the raid leader, my melee team was the tits, and I wanted them all day, every fucking day. So I really, really loved them, and I kind of wanted to catch them in this video. We were very close to a kill here, so I knew we were going to get a kill at some point, and I wanted to capture that. So Sanguinar's going to go down. Hit Capernian, that was the other one. So... classic as a raid leader is get your best players to do these difficult jobs, especially when it involves messing around like this. This is one of the reasons I love this fight. Everybody's got a different role, and you're already starting to see that. My role is support, then helping. We've got our warlocks who are going from damage. Now Jakana is going to be tanking. We've got Space who's dealing with this, and we also have a feral druid in here. Yes, I had a feral druid in the guild, and he was really, really good, and they're going to be helping out as well. But what you can see as well is the healers breaking off into teams, because the Kael'Thas room is enormous, and this is one of the things I really love that I talk about in the top 5, is you could see in the background, especially with the role I had, the teams doing their multiple roles and then reconverging at the end. It's so good. I loved this. So we all take position here because Capernian does a conflag, which spreads, so we're all spread around. But you can also see these guys waiting up here. This is another part of the fight. Now, they are AFK, but that's because, we've decided this is better that we just have the range deal with this. I found a little spot, but we just want the range and the heals to deal with this because we're in no rush. Unlike a lot of fights that we get these days, there's no pushing rush here. In fact, this fight works on a rhythm system where it starts nice and slow with this phase. You can take as long with this phase as you want, and then it's going to get really hyper fast, and then it's going to pull back. And it's another thing I love about the fight is they're kind of like a song. A song can't just be always go, 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 go. Even a lot of the heaviest metal songs have something just to pull the tempo back and allow you to breathe and then get back into it. And as a heavy metal fan, it's something I truly appreciate about it. And when I see it in raid boss design, my fucking heart melts because I'm like, crisp. The worst way of Blizzard doing this is intermission phases. That's why I do not like the Kill Jaden fight. Can't stand the Kill Jaden fight. Same thing again. Actually, dead stopping all gameplay is where it gets real rough and nobody's doing anything. Like with Illidan, you do dead stop gameplay, but you're repositioning during that time. So when he takes off to throw down his glaives, for example, to spawn the fire elementals, you're all repositioning, and then by that time, the glaives are coming down, and then you're getting into the next part of this fight. What you're not doing is Kill Jaden style or Argus style, which is you're literally just stood AFK, or even worse in the Castle Nathria style, where you have to stop damage because the way the fight works is your gear and damage is just going to screw it up. None of that happened back here, really. It was a case of take your time and do it at your pace, which I truly adored. So we're just going to work down Capernian. She hasn't got much health anyway in this version. I think they get double health later on. Just talking shit with Ghosty there because he was in the guild as well. There he is. He's Mr. Street. And now we're going to get ready for Telekinesis. So we have this moment where we're all charging back into battle. Again, my fucking heart melts, man. I love this stuff. We're reconvening with the rest of the team. And we're having fun. You can see we're talking shit. We're enjoyable. This fight is really chill, especially in this phase. It's going to get real serious. Again, that tempo change is going to happen. And Telekinesis is actually the most irritating of all of Kael'Thas' advisors because he puts time stop on people. And the only thing we want in the world is for time stop not to be on the tanks because we won't be able to transition the phase with the tanks having time stop. So that is going to happen. What we don't want is time stop on me, time stop on our druid, or time stop on space. So it's called Remote Toy. So it's on X-Men, that's fine. I'm chilling, I'm looking again, my damage doesn't contribute anything, and in fact we're in no rush to do DPS. All I really want here is a full rage bar to go into the next phase, because threat is still an issue in the Burning Crusade. So I want a full rage bar so I can go ham. So we get Remote Toy on space, and I remember at this point, this is one of those things we just talked about at Castle Nathria. We have to stop damage. You see, immediately everyone pulls off the fight. This is not the same for me, and it might be a fine line, but I don't care. It's my opinion, right? This might be a fine line. Is I don't mind this as much as having to stop because of clearing like a raid-wide debuffs and things like that. This is a little unlucky, and it's kind of funny because it happened to him. So we're just giving him shit right now, right? There's a very different element to that than, say, Denathrius and stopping to clear debuffs because they happen at certain times, and we just have to wait for them. Depending on how your guild does the fight. We're just like, okay, well, we have to do this every time. So we're just giving him shit. Just slagging him off. You don't have to wait that long. It's like a minute or something like that. So we're just kind of chilling, talking shit. It's just one of those funny things that happens. Fucking cocksucker. We're chilling, you know what I mean? This is much more enjoyable. And again, it comes down to the people you're playing with. But the fight is, we could potentially just go anyway. But for safety and first kill, you're going to do it as nice as you can. So, I mean, I know it's a fine line, but I don't care. I'm going to zoom in on him. It's just like, what an idiot. Because this is what happens, is it throws you in place. So, he's a tank. We can't have him. Got the Slipknot playing, because of course, it's the Burning Crusade. So, of course, we have Slipknot playing. Absolutely tremendous. Now the tempo of the fight shifts, if the fight doesn't go to a weird black screen. The tempo of the fight is going to shift now, and it's going to be full on. So I'm going to actually take position, because the Remote Toy has worn off space. So I'm going to get in position now. And this was a great element of the fight, and this is what I think changes this boss from being just really, really good to fantastic. And it's the same reason I chose Illidan over Blackhand or Gul'dan, is... This was a new thing, which is they introduced the legendary weapons into the fight, and then they did it in a really cool way. Not only did you have to defeat the legendary weapons, but then you had to distribute the legendary weapons, equip the legendary weapons, and then certain classes had to utilize those legendary weapons to deal with later mechanics in the fight. I haven't seen that since. You know? I haven't seen that since, and I don't know why. It was so cool to gain these extra abilities throughout the fight. Genuinely not sure why they never did this again. It was one of those things that's really unique to this fight. We have had fights where you do some stuff, so we had like Kill Jaden, Sunwell, again, not really utilized that either, where we had players turning into dragons to give people buffs and had that coordination going on. Really cool. I don't know, this is what pushes this fight ahead of me, is it add things like this that we just didn't see again for over a decade. So as you can see, we've got everybody in position now, and everybody's got a different task again. So our jobs have changed, right? Everybody's jobs has changed now. Everyone's got different priorities that they want to deal with. So usually, like now, we'd be like, focus X, Y, Z, but that's not how this fight worked at all. In fact, it was melee do X, I will do Y. Range deal with something else. We have a hunter dealing with the Nether Strongbow. This is really an advancement of the High King Morgor fight. It's essentially what this is, but done in a new, unique, and interesting way. So there's actually, it's hard for you to see. It's hard for even me to see, but there's actually a load of stuff down here where we've got one tank and one healer dealing with the axe. Now we've got the sword and mace, which is... it's the tank and healers. It's actually our healing raid leader is throwing out who's healing who. So the healers have gone. Think about it from a healing perspective. In phase 1, they had to deal with people getting random aggro from Thaladred. Then they had to deal with certain healers had to go and deal with the warlock tank. Other healers had to stay with the other tank while who dealt with that. Then we had this section where each healer is now going to break off and deal with the individual tanks. There's 4 tanks dealing with this area of the fight. I'm going to be taking 2 things as the main tank. So I'm going to take the shield and the infinity blades. The Feral Druid is going to take Devastation, which is the giant axe. I believe that's because he had the massive health pool, which meant he could soak up those enormous hits that came from that legendary axe. And our other tank is going to deal with the sword. And our hunter's going to deal with the bow. And there's also a staff. Maybe a warlock tanked the staff. I can't remember. There is a caster staff in here somewhere. I genuinely can't remember. I'm trying to read down here, actually. Staff... Okay, I think the staff randomly target people because there's just a healer assigned to that. So, again, all these jobs have split up. Super. Maybe we even had a healer tank it with, maybe we had a paladin with Righteous Fury on or something like that. Hard for me to say. Oh, of course, so positioning again. Fucking love this fight so much. So the positioning was really important, and I have a boner for positioning all the time. If you watched any of my videos, you know that. So our druid's also pulling back here because this does a whirlwind, and I think most of them had some ability. I think I got shield slammed and interrupted, and it shield slammed people that was near the shield, which is something I need to be aware of, and later on I have to go and do some other jobs. Again, that multi-role. I'm not just tanking, right? I love anything like that. It's like I tank all day, every day. I tanked for like 9 years. I'm fully aware of how to tank an enemy. Give me something more, right? And tanks complain a lot that every fight's turned into a taunt swap and things like that. And this is like 15 years ago, we weren't doing that at all. We were doing different things. There are tank swap fights. So there's the staff dead. So I'm going to loot the staff. And I'm going to bring it over, actually, to our Feral Druid. Now, ordinarily, this wouldn't happen in a lot of guilds. But we had an issue a couple of times where casters were a little late to go and pick up their legendary staff. The Staff of Disintegration. And, of course, our Druid is tanking the big axe that does Blade Storm. Therefore, they were getting killed every now and again. It was just one of those silly errors that you deal with when your guild's not, it's not Limit or Echo or anything like that. It's just one of those things that you have to deal with, and so we dealt with it. I believe there's also a healing mace as well. The mace. I think the mace is a healing mace. I'd have to check that. But all these different tasks are happening. So I had a little job there. Again, that little bit of flavor, that little bit of fucking pepper, a little bit of pepper is exactly the kind of thing I look for in a great raid fight. Remember, I didn't do my top 5 list wasn't the best bosses. I actually think that's really boring. It's got to be like Black Hand and whatever. Right? Who fucking cares? You can find that list anyway. I was talking about the great bosses, the trendsetters. That's why I had Kael'Thas in there. Yeah, by all stretch of the imagination, I don't think Kael'Thas was one of the best bosses ever made, but it was a great boss. Same with Illidan. There is no Gul'dan without Illidan. It just doesn't exist, right? It wouldn't be there. And Kael'Thas, unfortunately, was not a fight that they ever attempted to do much better. Same with Lady Vash. Lady Vash has mechanics we didn't really see again for quite some time. If ever, really, in some cases. Strange. The raid design team in TBC was absolutely the creme de la creme. And that's not nostalgia. This is objectively true. Like, there's so much stuff happening here that just didn't happen again. And I don't know why. Although, it could be because people got cop blocked on this fight. Quite hard. And it was part of the achievement for the Black Temple and Hyjal, is people got really cop blocked. Anyway, so I'm going to pull these over here. Our melee, these all had really weird HP. I remember that. They all had very weird HP. So this is where the fight is full on because we are on a timer now. You can see this phase 3. This timer starts the moment you transition to phase 2, which is the legendary weapons. So it goes from a very slow, relaxed tempo into this hyper speed, man, because you only have this amount of time to get the majority of what needs doing to these weapons done in time. And everybody's got different jobs. And what's going to happen is all of those ads are going to come back to life. So you can't have space tanking the sword in 37 seconds. It can't happen. At the same time, you can't have the casters dealing with their problems, right? You just cannot have it. It has to be done. Now, there are ways that we learned that you can delay certain things, like the phase shift bulwark, for example. Only I need that. The other tank space would like that, but I need it. So mine, I don't need to tank anything for later. This is also why I'm not tanking, because right now, for a long time, the main tank would be like, well, I'm tanking this, I'm tanking everything, and then the off tank could wait for whatever. No, that's fucking stupid, man. I trust my tank, and there is no main tank, off tank. You're the tanks. My job is to hold onto the shield, which hits very hard. I had more gear, while Space, who had a much better threat setup, actually, he got some really good expertise items, so it made way more sense for Space to pick up the stuff that was going to be blasted straight away, free him up to get over here, which will then in turn free me up to have the shield, which will then in turn free me up to have Kael'Thas when Space is still likely to be tanking. We also need to get Devastation down, the axe. I believe the axe has to die as well because Snarky, Druid, also needs to be over to tank Telekinesis, because Telekinesis is going to come back to life as well. And our Warlocks also need to be in place to tank Copernicus, because she's going to rise again, etc., etc. And at the same time, Thaladred's going to be walking around. So what we don't want is people in a group, because he's going to be walking around fixating people. And this is going to be a real dangerous transition. I'm sure it'll be blasted through when TBC's revamped and everyone's min-maxed to the teeth. They'll just, be like chilling on this. But whatever. At the time, it was fucking great. I don't care. Again, I really don't care about what people have found out since, because this is why I don't want to play the Burning Crusade again. This likely wouldn't happen because people would be super min-maxed. They'd be used to modern day retail raids and they just crush through this. No doubt everybody here is doing some sort of fucking stupid shit. I don't mind. So you can see the guys are coming over to me now. They're going to start working on the Infinity Blades, while Space, who's in my group, is now going to be moving over to deal with the... Yeah, you can see he's there, right? So you see the way the timing of that worked? Oh, so good. Oh, it's so good. So as the advisors come up, they just got finished with the sword. They've just grabbed their swords. Come to me. That's like Space move over there. The axe also dead, so the casters have been killing the axe. So it all had to work at a really crisp timing. And now we've got interesting things happening. Why? We've got bosses being tanked, but the DPS can't be there, man. They can't be there. Look, they're 100%. There's jobs to be finished by this point. And phase 4 is in 2 minutes and 46. So the next time it comes. So we get a little bit of breathing room. We can see Thaladred has set eyes on Genji. He's in the melee, so he's going to be kiting away whenever it's necessary, looking where Thaladred is. We usually kill Thaladred quite far away to buy the melee sometime, should this happen. Exactly for this reason. So I'm going to start moving the bulwark now, because the daggers died. Here comes Thaladred. And moving in. And what all we have happening here is people putting Curse of Doom on. So part of my job here was to help out wherever possible. I'm going to grab the Infinity Blade. I believe this debuffed things, so they took extra magical damage. I think. I could be wrong on that. But I'm going to pick up the dagger, and I've equipped it with a macro, and I'm going to be running around. And what I want to do is debuff Thaladred, because the melee who have the daggers aren't really able to DPS this, because their job is to kill Sanguinar. To get that happening, because he does fear, so he's going to be a pain in the ass. So in I go. I'm going to be trying to proc it up. I think it's this here, this like purge-looking debuff. I think I'm debuffing him there, and I'm also going to try and keep it on the shield, because all I'm having doing is I just keep reminding them, we have a Shadow Priest, re-put Doom on this, because I can tank this for a while. You can see my healers kind of following me around, and now you can see, if you look at the map, right, and this is, God, I know I sound like such a geek right now, but I really don't care. This fight is fucking awesome. Nostalgia be damned. Look how spread the raid is now, and everybody's jobs have cycled through into something else again. Everybody's jobs have switched up, different priority targets, and everybody's doing something different all around the room. Looking for the best way of dealing with that. I'm trying to help as much as I can now. So very different than what you saw at the beginning of the fight, which is me kind of AFK just building a rage bar. This time around, DPS fucking matters. We're going to prop on some Limp Bizkit. Classic. Of course we are. Now, I am letting the shield hit me in the back, which I'm sure is triggering some of you. I tested this. I was a big nerd tank at the time. This was totally fine. The healers didn't care, and it freed me up so much more to be just chasing Thaladred, who did move pretty fast without it getting too dangerous. So I had to be careful, though, because he does melee you. It was a weird thing. When he's changing his fixate, like he just did then, he will just melee you. This was really awkward. So he set eyes on the tanks, which he could absolutely do, which was very annoying. And he kind of kited around there. It was a good move because he knocks around and things like that, and you don't want that to happen. So we've got to finish off Thaladred now, which I think my best plan to assume everyone's DPS. So you can see two of the bosses. Sanguinar is dead. And I think this moment this moment is so good. So Sanguinar's about to die, and what you're going to see is the melee racing across the battlefield to deal with their next target. And having that happening in my periphery, instead of the more classic style of swap to this, swap to that, is only the melee going to do it. So Sanguinar's just died. Watch here. Look at the boys go. Wah! Get in there. Oh, that's so cool. I love this. I love the lads just like, charge. That's what you want to feel in a raid fight. That's what you want to really feel in a raid fight, man. It's that, ugh. And you can feel them like, and they would be shouting like, go, 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 go. Get it done. So next job is, I only have 30 seconds until Kael'Thas actually appears, which I'm going to be dealing with. So I need the range to finish this off before we go and deal with Kasabian, who's still at 84%. I actually ran away here, and I think a Doom procs or something, it like instantly gangstered it. We also have one of our Warlocks pick up the shield to take to our other tank because he's busy. So I'm going to get my shield on. That's going to be cool. I'm going to get in position because I now have 13 seconds for this. But notice this, and this is the part I truly loved. And maybe it's the big biases because I'm the tank. I'm on my own. Like, look at the raid frames. There's nobody with me. There's nobody with me. It's just me out here on my own, man. And I'm going to be here for a little while. And it felt strange to be dealing with the main boss of the encounter, and there's just nobody here. I have a Warlock who's in range of me, a Hunter who's in range of me, and 2 healers that are with me. And he's only in range because he's here. I'm not sure what he's waiting for, because he's not going dealing with Kasabian. I can't remember what the reason for that was. I don't know whether it was something to do with Imp, maybe? I'm not sure. Okay, so we have one of the rogues come over here. I can't remember why. I think it's something to do with... Did he just die? Hold on. Somebody's dead. I'm not sure why. No, it was a shaman. I'm not sure why a shaman died. But either way, I imagine it's Conflag. Let's see how quickly he dies. Although, aggro... Oh, it's from Kael'Thas. Yeah, Kael'Thas fireballed him. That's really unfortunate. I mean, I was waiting for it, but that's my fault. I will take responsibility for that. But we've got him here. I think he's debuffing the Kael'Thas or something, or it's something to do with mind control, because there is mind control in here that the rogues had to break. But I'm going to chill on my own. This aggro button, yeah, I know, it's annoying, but it did help me out on some occasions. Whatever. My old UI is fucking garbage. What do you want me to say? I'm tracking Sunder. But occasionally I saw these shots, like Hunter shots coming in and things like that. But you can see there's few people, but then you can see, this is what I mean, again, it's the same feeling that we had when the melee was running across the battlefield, is the team arrives, right? And so, for me, you might say, oh, this is just because you were tanking, Mike. It wasn't anything like this. For other perspectives. That's not true. Being part of that melee squad and finally being done with your targets, knowing your team did a good job, then being able to settle into the boss and like racing over as a team. And I very rarely feel right now, and haven't done with raids for a while, where you get that party element. It's a good raid element. But what I don't have is that party element where you are the melee squad and the range squad. And this highlighted that so well for me as all the squad arrived. We've got the big enhancement shaman with the 2H. Get bunked on, mate. Get absolutely bunked on. Ideal? Probably not, but who cares, right? And silly DPSing from the front? Probably not. But the Wind Fury's going off, so that's all that matters. And I'm watching this like a nutshell. You see Kasabian's at 1%, and then we're going to see the rest of the squad arrive. They're going to be racing up this enormous room. Up the battlefield. As the fight then progresses, you can see there's no downtime. So much going on. None of these like AFK phases or anything like that. We will have something similar later, but it's done at such a right time, because for the last, say, 5 minutes, it has been nothing but go, go, go. Non-stop go, go, go. Which is what I love about it. So we're going to start seeing spells coming in a minute as the guys are racing up. We've got some mind control there and that two-handed enhancement shaman. Yikes. Please CC him. Please CC him. We've got a few things that are going on here with shock barriers and interrupting pyroblasts. I'm using the shield in order to absorb that damage and then interrupt the last one while the guys get down. Now we can see the spells coming in. You can see the warlocks are here, and we've got the whole raid sort of coming together to start finally, after all this time, work on Kael'Thas himself. And they didn't get lazy here either, which I thought was really fucking cool. So we had a few things to deal with here, which is phoenixes spawning. Then they die and they spawn an egg. I think we killed the eggs or something. You can see these phoenix spawning at the back. Usual stuff. But essentially all we're trying to do here is manage his pyroblasts, similar to what we've seen. This part of the fight is definitely something that has been reused 8 million times since here, but it doesn't really matter to me. The rest of the fight is so wonderful. It really doesn't matter. And this is where we're like, it's still go, 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 because you just finished dealing with all of his visors. Then you're into Phoenixes, a totally new thing, much better than the shitty Castle Nathria version. But what we want to do here is get to 50%, I think, is when the final phase will start. And Blizzard, the raid designers here were so good that they did put a somewhat intermission in here. Yeah, you can see all the boys running over to the egg. I loved seeing that in my periphery. Like, never be back again. They did build in the intermission here, but it was done correctly. Because one, you're not AFK. You have things to do. And two, it's also going to reveal to you that I absolutely had no fucking idea how one of the most important tank mechanics on this fight worked. Although I'm going to be incredibly lucky here and get away with it. And I will tell you now that when I show it you, it's incredibly obvious. I did not know it existed. I actually caused us to wipe to this many times simply by not knowing the mechanic until somebody from a different guild pointed it out to me, and I just face palmed so hard when it actually happened. Once I realized it, I face palmed so hard that I was actually this. Oh, can we point out this moment? I love this moment, by the way. Watch this area here while I was shit talking there. Watch it. Watch it. Watch it. Come up. See this? Gotta cast that chain heal though, right? There's something so glorious about a Tauren death animation. I was raging here. We got 4 down. We're finally about to hit the last phase at 9%. And yeah, what a bummer. What an absolute fucking bummer. Healers too. Real pisser. But it's okay. It's all good. It's all good. I am getting hurt. You can see I'm clicking. I'm clicking my nightmare seeds and things like that in order to keep me alive. All these consumables used carrying the Burning Crusade. I'm doing my best, boys. That's all I can say is I'm doing my best to keep it going. We have got some deaths, but we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Don't group up on this fight. Don't group up. But you can still do it. One of the cool things about these old fights, nearly every single one of them, a few deaths was fine. Something I kind of miss. A few deaths was fine. We don't really have room for that in Mythic anymore. It's like, someone died, you can res them. You might be able to res a couple of people, but more than a couple of people die, it's usually a wipe these days. Back then, not really. I think we can get somebody up at some point, but we're still going to be fine. Getting real messy now with the Phoenixes, which is all good, but we're just like saying transition the fight. Like, get us out of here before the next shock barrier, more than likely, which is where I need to use the shield to survive, and the guys need to break through it. So we're going to go into phase 5. So 5-phase fight, lulz. Here's the intermission. So wonderfully timed by Blizzard, because one, it's needed. This fight gets very intense. You can see everything mounts up. You have these various crossovers where, like, you still got the ads and the legendary weapons. You have Kael'Thas and the ads still alive. Now you're going to have Phoenixes, which are starting to get more and more of them. And then they did it so well by making it so cinematic. By having Kael'Thas rise up, shatter the ceiling. It really gave this, like, final phase feeling. The same with Vash. It's what I talked about a lot in like the Illidan fight and things like that. We don't necessarily see that too much anymore. If I think about like Carapace of N'Zoth, kind of has a final phase, but I mean, N'Zoth himself, Argus, not really. Blackhand does, which is great. We do have this sort of finale in Blackhand, which is very cool. Like, Blackhand would be the last one, I think, from memory. I probably remember forgetting something offhand. Gul'dan, obviously. That felt like a big moment. This feels like a wonderful moment, because everyone gets to relax for a sec. You can just DPS some eggs if you want to. But I'm chilling now. You're taking a breath. You're like, and I remember, like, distinctly as the raid leader, just being like, stay calm now, okay? We've got this last bit in the bag. It's all good. All good. Just everyone chill. Like, as long as we chill and we just do our jobs here, everything's fine. We're not at a race against time anymore, right? That element of the fight has come and it's gone. And now we can think about it differently as he comes back down. And now he's turbo huge as well. He's really, really big. So in I go, getting jobs done. Putting in work, getting my shield on, getting the Sunders up and usual stuff. People getting in to get rocking and rolling. A really great breather. Really, really great breather. And I love this as well. Again, it could. Some people would say this is an intermission, but the fact that you had chain lightning going on and you were all trying to position and you were doing something during it, you weren't just like completely AFK, waiting for the boss to do something. I actually like this quite a lot. I love that we were positioning to try and give the healers more room. The same as Alakia. This is just swimming, right? You're just swimming in the air. But the same as Alakia, like, although you are, like, flying around and stuff, it's still fun. Okay, the mechanic I did not know about. Okay. It's so fucking stupid. You see the shadow? There are, like, 4 of these around Kael'Thas, right? And if you stand in them, it reduces your max health by like 10% per stack, and it ticks up really, really quickly. I had no idea that happened. So definitely on not only before this and a couple of kills we did after this, there are portions of this fight where I was tanking the last phase and my health had dropped to something like, I don't know, 9k. And I was getting one-shot by the boss, and I was absolutely raging. I was raging at everybody. I was like popping every cooldown in the book to survive. I started saying things like, it's fucking random. I don't know what it is. Sometimes I get it. Sometimes I don't. I don't know what it is whatsoever that is causing this thing. And to be fair, no one else in my raid team knew either. So I would just be absolutely fuming. It turns out you just don't stand in the shadow. It's a cloud. It's supposed to be a cloud. I still can't see it. I have the video. Where the fuck? I can see the shadow. This thing? I don't know. I don't fucking know. But they're all around the boss. You can see there's two there. One there, one there. There's another one here, another one here. Yeah, I don't fucking know. I know I definitely wiped us too. And then when I noticed it, to be fair, when someone said, yeah, just don't stand in the shadows on the floor, they're here, right? You see these? Well, these aren't like set positions. They would be under his foot and stuff and like just float across you. Once I realized it, I realized how like treacherous and sneaky these little bastards are. These are real screw-ups. They're all over the place. And then they despawn. So it would only happen after I came back in, right? Because I was out further enough so it wouldn't bother me. It would really only happen to me after. You can see I have one stack. It's this like blackout looking symbol that I have. You can't see it, unfortunately, but it's a little symbol thing that's on me. And it would just drive me nuts. It would drive me absolutely nuts, because I would be looking for someone to blame. Someone must be fucking it up. Is it because you attacked Kael'Thas? Things like that. It would be... it would enrage me. But once I sussed it out, we were fine. I never died to it again after that. I killed this boss with 2 guilds. Both times it was epic, and I enjoyed it every single time. Really cool. And then it's a very sort of swift ending to the fight, which is, I think, actually a really great payoff. I'm not a huge fan of very long fights. This fight is like 18 minutes, 19, nearly 20 minutes long. Right? It's nearly a 20-minute long fight. I'm really not a big fan. Another reason why I dislike Kill Jaden, where the kind of the hardest part of the fight is the very end, because reprogressing that sucks. It's just misery. I really find that. I get the idea. It's like a common sense thing that the end of the fight should be the hardest part. But no, I loved this. It's epic in scale and visuals and what's happening. It doesn't need to be super hard for me. I think the hard part of this fight is meeting all the criteria to get to here. And having this sort of, not easy, but easier, but still plenty going on, portion of the fight to finish it off that only lasts... It's not very long, right? It's like 2 minutes just to burn him down. And you feel like you got stronger because everybody now has their legendary weapons and stuff, right? You're all much stronger than when you started the fight. Like, just perfect pacing. Absolutely perfect pacing. Because you can almost feel the elation rising in the team as you're getting to this point. It's like, right, we did 25% or whatever during that portion of the fight. Just don't die. It's actually hard to die, so I think people feel kind of good during this portion of the fight. Watching these. I think the Phoenixes, I still don't fucking know. To this day, I have no idea. All I learned is, like, don't stand in the shadows. That's all I learned. Somebody will tell me in the comments. I don't care. I know the rule. We don't... You see, there's like 5 or 6 of these little fucks. They're everywhere. I detest them. So you can tell, right? It's like 13 years later. I still hate these shadows. I still hate them. And I was kind of hoping in the video that I would accidentally run through one just to prove that I didn't know what they did. But I'll just tell you straight up, I had no idea. I didn't get hit by one here. My health is still 21k. But I'm telling you now, I did. I wiped my group several times. Kind of weird. I was definitely known as being one of the best tanks, if not the best tank on the server. That's not a brag, because I absolutely was not fully aware of what this fight did. I researched the hell out of it too, by the way. Like, when I found out I had to use a dagger during this fight, I spent my entire weekend just... I had dagger skill 1 on this character, and I did it. I was like pretty dedicated. I researched the shit out of it, and nowhere did it mention these goddamn clouds. But later on, someone was like, yeah, it's the clouds. Popping my nether like seed as we go for the big burn. We got gravity lapse in 10. We're not quite going to make it, but that's GG's, man. Look, everyone's like happy right now. I can only express to you, like, every time we did this fight, farm or not. Oh, God, could have died there. That would have been disastrous. Fight or not. It was joy at this point in the fight. The fight's done. You know, it's really, really done. So we'll see the kill, even though there's nothing new to tell you about it. But I hope that explains to you in my ramblings here about just why I love fights like this, why I get excited by them, why I dislike fights that go very much against this. Like Operator Thorgard does have you splitting in two, but it's nowhere near the same sort of depth and scale. I'm going to run through that cloud. I know it. Yeah. It didn't tick up. Yeah, it did. It did tick on me, but I've run in and used Last Stand. For absolute safety, I've used Last Stand just to make sure we win. I think I almost remember, this is how much I cared about this kill. I almost remember running in, watching my health, because I was aware of it, that my health would go down. And if it happened, I was just going to pop Last Stand and go for it, like, without even caring in the world. But there he is. Take attendance. Wow, that's classic. Take attendance. There it is, guys. That's why that's why Kael'Thas is so far up there in my memories. It really is. Whew, that was wonderful. I enjoyed that immensely. I don't care if no one watches. I thought that was really cool. Thank you so much for watching my 16 FPS recording from, over a decade ago. But I hope that makes more sense now as to why I rate this so highly. It's not even nostalgia. Like, the stuff I'm bringing up here, yeah, I was having fun with the guys, but it's the actual how this fight worked and the moments it created. That's what I loved. It's not nostalgia. It's a great fight. The greatest fight. It is. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, everybody.